Alex Revell, we spoke last week about having two games. That didn't exactly work out. What has the club been doing in the meantime? Have you managed to get any friendly behind closed doors matches?
Yeah, so obviously we were disappointed with obviously Saturday being called off. I think that we were all really looking forward to that game and we felt ready. So disappointing, but everybody worked extremely hard to try and get that game on. But obviously, unfortunately, we can't beat the weather, and it was completely unplayable. So we had to make that decision along with the ref. But we managed to play a behind closed doors game on Tuesday to get the boys back in terms of the injured boys' minutes again, which was really good because they brought down their first team and allowed us to have a really competitive game down at the stadium, which was great for those guys to be involved again and watch them play in a proper competitive game. So a really positive day, and the others trained. So we've had a positive week. The good thing, obviously, with the game being called off is that we got work into them. So you have to try and use it. Obviously, training's been difficult in terms of facilities because of the pitches, but we've managed to adapt. And now we're just looking forward to the next run of games now, starting on Saturday. So it's going to be thick and fast. Going to need everybody to make sure that we come out of this next month in a really positive way.
Well, I mean, you say it's nice to get them and have a bit time with them, but what these players need, the ones who've come back from injury, is game time, isn't it? So needing this run of games now to get them up to speed as quickly as possible.
Well, that's why Tuesday was so important, because to give them games, to give them minutes, to give them exposure to that competitive edge of a game. You can have training games at the training ground, which you try and make us as close to a game, and which is why we switched it to the stadium to make it as realistic as possible, and they all came through that in the way that we wanted them to. So they're all raring to go, and but the squad's in a good place in terms of the players that have been playing, and getting those players back that we know are strong in terms of our physicality is good to see, and it's down to us now to make sure that when we put them in, they're ready. And when they get back in and they get the opportunity to play, that they go and perform and show people what we've been missing, and that they're ready to be a part of the first team squad.
Well, talking of when they're ready, one of the players who is back training is Jake Forster-Caskey. Now, I know you're not going to set a time scale on it because of his injuries and everything like that. But just how close is he to being included? I guess are we talking weeks rather than months now?
Yeah, so with Cass, listen, we know the history of his injuries, and we're still ahead of schedule in terms of when you look at the fact that this is the cruciate. We're looking at it, and ideally it's 12 months in terms of the full length to give him his best opportunity to come back as strong as he can, and we're ahead of that. So what's really important is that we manage him, and he needs more games because it's been a long time. Normally you have a pre-season, then you play games, and what you can't just do is chuck people like Cass in, because it's not fair on them, because when they get put in front of fans and put on a pedestal when it's winning, then they have to perform, and if they're not at that, they're not ready. It's not ideal for the player. It's not ideal for us either, because we're here to win. So we have to make sure that when he comes back, he's ready. And in training, he's looked the cast that we all know and love, but he does need more games for sure, because it's very different training smaller areas and against people that compared to playing in games, being exposed to larger distances and having that competitive side against someone that wants to win. So we have to make sure he's ready. He's doing everything he can do. We might have setbacks along the way of him because of the fact it's been such a long time, but that won't be through his lack of desire or what he's done over the past few months. That'll just be because sometimes when you have a long injury, other parts tend to get fatigued quicker. So we just have to make sure we manage him, because he's getting excited because he's getting back, and it's been a long time. So it's great to see him with a smile on his face and see his influence around the place. So we'll look after him, and when we put him in, we'll all believe that he'll be ready to do that.
Dan Butler was the other one who picked up a bang on the head just around New Year. I guess he's ready to go now.
So Butts is completing his return because it was a nasty injury in terms of the consequences and the looking at what could have happened, if that makes sense. And we have to be really careful with him because it was such a big collision, and there's certain protocols that we have to get to before we can return. So he's on his way back. It disrupted him a lot. So it wasn't nice to see, but he's back, and we'll build him in slowly for sure. But again, we have to be safe with him because there's more to life than football at times, and with a head injury, we have to be really careful. So, but he's back. Good to see him again, and we'll push him now to make sure that he's ready for the next month or so.
And I guess now the next part of the conversation is going to be a bit deja vu as from last week. 2 more games to plan for, except one now was against Wigan rather than Burton. Great win for Wigan in the week as well. Yeah,
really good win. We know how tough it is to go there and win. So they're a side that when they turn up and when they play the football that they can play, they're a pleasure to watch at times. And I know Sean is trying to get rid of that inconsistency of play at times, and he's still developing a way of playing. He's got some fantastic players. He's obviously a young manager that's really, really excited by what he's got. You can tell that when you listen to his interviews, and I know he's a thinker of the game, so he'll see this as a difficult game, and it's a big game for us because we want to widen that gap and get closer to the top 6 for sure. And the way we've prepared over the past week or so, I think that the players are desperate to play and can't wait to get going again. So we're really excited by Saturday being at home again, and then obviously after that we move on to another rearranged game with Leyton Orient in the Cup. So 2 big games for us, and we're all looking forward to it because up there we put in a really good, disciplined, organised away performance. And now it's time for us at home to put in a top winning performance.
When you've had so much time with them as you have over the last couple of weeks, do you do anything different in training? Do you focus on specific areas, or do you sort of move to just do more of the things you need to get done?
Well, I think when you have smaller groups, because of the game that we played on Tuesday, which means we split the group slightly, you can work on what you see we need to work on in games, in terms of you can really work with a group of people to make sure that when we're better. Our aims, every day we train, but specifically while we've got this time to work, has been just making sure that when we leave the training pitch, that we're better and more prepared for Saturday. That's our aim. Now, it seems silly to say that, but sometimes you will put on generic sessions because it's a refresh day, or that's what we feel that the group needs sometimes. But we're trying to drip feed information and trying to get it across in the way that we want them to be and want them to play. And it does help when you have that, when it's smaller groups, and you can be more measured, can be more precise, can be a little bit more stop-start. So we've tried to do that, and we've had 3 really good days of smaller groups. But also that coincides with a really good game for the other lads, which has been fantastic. And then we all come together Thursday, Friday. So it's positive. It's been a positive week. But again, I reiterate, it's only positive when everybody who comes to watch on a Saturday sees what we're trying to do every day and improving on, that they see those improvements on a Saturday. So that's our aim. That has to be where we want to get to. And at the end of the day, you're measured on outcomes, on wins. And we had a meeting, and if we can turn those draws into wins that we've had, turn those opportunities into goals that we've had, then we see this part of the season being a really successful one.
And just finally, going to sound like a broken record again, but the latest on any transfers, on we've just been talking about the players that are moving in League One. There's some big money being spent. Not expecting Stevenage to be spending that sort of money, but fans will be sort of interested to know if there's any progression anyway or potentials or.
It will sound like a broken record again. We're focusing on what the group we've got, and as always, we work extremely hard. Leon, the chairman, everybody's working extremely hard behind the scenes to look at players that fit our group. That's character, that's ability, that's technical, that's tactical, everything. We're working hard, but ultimately, we are getting new players back. Louis Appiah is going to be like a new signing for us. Dan Sweeney, Charlie Good, Cass, all these players that are coming back. So you have to be really careful in January that they fit. It's very easy to push the button and pull the trigger on someone that you potentially is a risk, potentially because you want to fix something that's potentially broken or injuries. We don't have that. We can be really measured in what we want to achieve and measured with who we want to bring in. But our squad is really strong, and like I've always said, the only players that we'll look to bring in will be those that make us better, and that will be continuous until the end of January. But our focus is making the group and the players that we have better.